Hi, I'm Ida Hardy. I'm so glad you're here. Thank you for joining me on this journey through pranayama. It's an exploration of what we can do with the breath and why it's so important and how it can benefit us. So the breath, of course, where would be without it? Where would you be without your breath? You would not be here if you didn't have your breath. So the breath is the thing that gives us access to prana. We breathe in prana. We breathe in the life force energy, and we can learn how to control it. Now, that's not the only way that we get life force energy. We take it in with our eyes and we take it in with our ears. We can take in life force energy through many different ways, and we can also send it out. So there are some things that use up our life force energy, and then there are some things that actually build up our life force energy. And hopefully through this course, this short course, this practical approach to pranayama, you'll learn a few things that you can do to raise your vibration, to make your mood better, and so that you can just be happier, healthier, and freer. And isn't that what we all want? I think that's what we all want. So just a word. We are filming in my home, and I have three dogs, and they're all in the house at this moment because it's storming outside, which is one of the reasons why we're not doing a Zoom call today, and that I'm just going to send you this recording. So if I'm interrupted by the dogs, I'm going to try to continue to record so that I can just get this out to you instead of starting and stopping and starting and stopping. So this is real life. This is just me coming to you in your home in your most comfortable clothes, hopefully, so you can just relax and take it all in and apply it as you can, as you feel like you want to. So pranayama is something that I'm really passionate about. I love teaching it, I love doing it, and I have found that it's made all the difference to me in so many different ways. It helps me sleep better, it helps me to control my mood. We'll get into all of that and what it's helped other people do as well. They say that who are they? When people say they say that this, well, there are studies show that help that we have a certain number of breaths per minute, and so we can change our rate of respiration with pranayama practices, and that can help slow the heart rate. It can increase the heart rate as well. It can increase heart rate variability, and that's something that a lot of people are kind of having fun measuring every day too. So if you're one of those people like with an aura ring, I don't have one. I looked at my hand, but I don't have an aura ring. Maybe Santa will bring me one next Christmas. But we can measure heart rate variability, and that tells us one indication of how healthy we are. So pranayama is one of the limbs of the eight-limbed family of yoga. So if you imagine, so when we talk about yoga, when anybody talks about yoga, some people talk about yoga and they just mean hatha yoga. They mean the physical yoga exercises that we do on the mat, in the studio, in the park, wherever. Everybody does them wherever they do them, but most people think of yoga in the West as being the physical practices, and they are. That's one branch of yoga, and so most people do practice asana practices in hatha yoga. But there's also there's seven more branches that are just equally important as asana practice. So the first thing is yama and the niyamas. Even before asana practice, we've got niyama and yama. Yama first is the first branch that you learn about. If you were going to be brought up in a yogi's household, the first thing you learn is the yamas and the niyamas. And the yamas are your behaviors. These are your external behaviors. Do this, don't do that. And they have to do, and they correspond with and correlate with the 10 commandments, the yamas and the niyamas. So the first one is like non-harming, don't cause harm to anyone or yourself. And so it's a lot like thou shalt not kill, right? Honor yourself, honor God. It's a lot like the first two kind of together. And the niyama, so that's the external, and then the niyamas are the internal practices. These are the attitudes that we have toward other beings in life that we come across, circumstances, situations, other people. So this might correspond to some of the commandments, in that it's like, this isn't a commandment, but it's something that I learned as a Christian, is that we love the sinner and we hate the sin. So we don't like what everybody does, but it doesn't mean that we can't be friends, or that we don't love each human being. We all make mistakes. Sometimes it's not that we've made a mistake. Sometimes we intentionally choose wrong. Like when we lose our temper and we say something we know is going to hurt someone, that wasn't just a mistake, right? It's not like you took the wrong turn going to the store. That was, you intentionally tried to hurt someone. And so part of a yogi's lifestyle is about being perfectly upfront with yourself. Not everybody has to know what you're thinking, but working with a teacher helps to keep your insides honest as well, because we are fooled by our own delusions, and we'll get into that a little bit too. But your prana is affected, and your breathing is affected by those internal delusions that you go along with. So we all lie to ourselves at one time or another. Those are part of the practices of the yama and the niyama, is being truthful, honest, and straightforward with ourselves and with others. Okay, so yamas and niyamas are really important for us to be practicing. And then the third limb of this tree of these 8 limbed tree of yoga is asana practice, and that's what you see practiced in on a mat, usually doing headstands or sun salutations, the physical things that we do with our body. That's asana. You're all familiar with that. But the word asana, you know what that means? It just means a comfortable seat. Now I know some of you are very well practiced yoga teachers even, and some of you have been practicing yoga for your entire lives, and maybe you have a different idea of how yoga should be and what yoga is. And so this is just my experience, so take it for what it is. And so there's nothing here that I've made up. This is as was taught to me by my guru, by my teacher, Swami Satchidananda, and I have had some really beautiful, spiritually beautiful teachers in my life that I'm so grateful for. So that's the third limb of yoga, is asana, and the fourth is pranayama. And pranayama is what we're going to talk about for this whole 7 days, but I want to talk about those other limbs of yoga too. So just an overview so that you can be familiar with where pranayama is, and you can kind of see it's in the middle, right? It's yama, niyama. These are the 10 commandments. We're gonna get you firmly planted in right conduct and right thinking, and then we're going to get you fit in your body so that you can begin to feel prana in your body. So pranayama is about your life force energy, controlling your life force energy, and we'll come back to that. And so then the next thing is about learning to concentrate. Oh, so just to let you know where I'm getting this information from, it's probably showing up backwards for you there, but these are the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali, and it's as translated and commentary by my guru Sri Swami Satchidananda, and you can probably find it on Amazon. And if you can't, I can order it for you. But you might be able to get it at Barnes and Nobles or somewhere else. So you just let me know. So the 8 limbs of yoga are listed there. And it's not something that I've made up. So yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, pratyahara. This is something that most of us have a really hard time with in the modern world. I'm so lucky that I live in nature because I can easily do this, and we don't always have electricity out here. Sometimes during a storm we'll lose it. So pratyahara is sense withdrawal, and that just means that we turn off the TV. Maybe we turn off the lights. Maybe we don't look for inspiration from the outside, but we turn inward. That's simply what it means, is turning inward, sense withdrawal. So in today's yoga class, for instance, I had everyone sit, and we sat still, we kind of centered ourselves, and I'll walk you through this practice later too. And first we sensed what was happening in the outside world, and then we started sensing what's going on in the inside world. And so that's pratyahara. That is a practice that you can practice with your classes or with your family, by yourself. And then the next thing is concentration, or in Sanskrit it's dharana. And I don't want to use too much Sanskrit because I don't want it to be a distraction for you. When Swami Satchidananda used to teach, he would teach in Sanskrit a little bit, but he recognized that it was a distraction, and so we get really caught up in the words and in the rhythm of the words, and we want to know the exact meaning and the exact translation, but let that come later. Okay, so sense withdrawal, then concentration, then meditation, and then bliss or complete absorption. So when we say we have a meditation practice, what we really have is a concentration practice, or maybe just a sense withdrawal practice. So maybe when you go to sit in your meditation corner, you light your candle and you begin saying your prayers and your mantras, and you're just trying to concentrate. And that's step one. Okay, that's step one. Maybe your mind wanders, and I'll do another series with meditation. But pranayama can help you with meditation, and it's not something that's taught in every yoga class anymore. There was a time that you could just go to a yoga class and sit and practice pranayama, and that's all they would teach for an hour and a half. And can you imagine that? It was pretty amazing. So prana means the life force energy, and yama means control. Everything is about control. Remember the first two limbs? It was niyama, yama and niyama. So control, it's about self-control. So the yamas are the external behaviors, and I've got a big dog over here yawning. I don't know if you can hear him or not, but I just wanted to kind of tell you that's what the noises are. And the sigh. So we've got the external behaviors, controlling your external behaviors, the niyamas controlling the internal behaviors, and we've got pranayama controlling your life force energy. What if you really could control your life force energy? Would that mean that you could live longer? That's what the sages said. That's what Swami Satchidananda said, that we could live longer, or we could shorten our lives if we use it up. If we use energy in ways that are wasteful, then we use it up and we waste our energy and we waste our life force. And so we want to learn how to control it so that we can have the mood that we want to have and feel the way that we want to feel. So pranayama practices are we usually use our breath to control our prana. Okay, and so when I talk about pranayama practices here in this series, I'm going to be talking about it as breath control, breathing practices specifically. And as you do your breathing practices, you'll be able to have a sense of how you can increase the heat in your body, or it can decrease the heat in your body. It can make you feel like you have more energy to do the things that you need to do, or there are certain practices that help you simmer down, cool off, go to sleep. Some of them help you keep your temper. Some of them can cause a stress response. So it's important, the first thing, to become aware. So we are trying to build awareness. That's all we're doing in this life, right? Even from the time that you were a baby, when you were first born, you may have been aware of the familiarity of your mama's voice. Your mother and your father, they sounded familiar to you. Maybe they sang songs that you recognized when you were out of the womb, and you were aware of them but there was no real separation in your mind, because you were part of your mother for so long. And then you start to explore your body, your hands. Babies put everything in their mouth, their hands, their fingers, their toes, whatever they can reach, they put inside their bodies, and they're exploring their world. Now, they're not able to do breathing practices, and in the yoga tradition, we don't teach breathing practices to children younger than a certain age. We can practice by the time they start school. We can teach them some of the breathing practices, but still not all of them. not because they're dangerous, but because with those breathing practices comes some responsibility, and we want to make sure that they do have the yamas and the niyamas down so that they don't hurt themselves or anyone else, and that they have the level of awareness, consciousness in them so that they can know what they're doing with this extra prana that they're going to have, because you will notice that you have a great deal more energy and you'll be able to direct it and focus it, because we all want the energy of a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old, but we don't want to be bouncing off the wall like a 2-year-old or a 4-year-old. We want to be able to direct that energy to maybe to resolving some of the world's problems, or maybe just to figuring out how to finish a home being built. Whatever your issues or whatever your dharma is, whatever it is that you're trying to do, pranayama can help you do that. So let's practice a little bit of pranayama. So you're just going to turn inward. The way that we like to sit in yoga is to have our feet flat on the floor. You're going to be I'm sitting in a chair, but I'm not going to lean way back here, right? I'm not going to lean way back. I'm going to sit kind of on the edge of my chair. I dropped something over there, but it's nothing broke. It's okay, Marshall. So you're going to sit up tall, have the shoulders right over the hips, and allow the spine to be long. So I'm going to check in with my spine. I'm going to tilt and untilt the pelvis and see if I have that neutral spine. And so this part is really important. Getting your posture proper is really important. And so then just allow your eyes to close. I'm going to close mine along with you. So close your eyes now. And then just place the tongue at the roof of your mouth. Slide it slightly forward so that it's kind of behind the upper teeth, but not touching the upper teeth. So it's behind the palate, behind the bumpy part of your palate. And more on that tongue posture later. We're just going to get started now, though. Inhale and exhale. With your tongue in that posture, it's almost impossible to breathe through your mouth. You're going to be breathing through your nose. In yoga, there's only maybe 1 or 2 schools that'll teach you to breathe through the mouth. Sometimes it's appropriate, but mostly your nose was made for breathing. It turbinates, it swirls around the air, it cleanses it and purifies it, and it warms it or cools it according to what you need it to do in order as it comes into your body. So if you can't breathe through your nose, then we have a neti pot that we can use to cleanse the nostrils, and then we want to put a little bit of sesame oil on the inside of the nostrils to line the nostrils, to moisten the nostrils so that it can support the mucous membrane lining there, and it's really important to do that so that the nose continues to work properly. So we want to be aware of that open airway, inhaling and exhaling with the tongue in that posture. And so become aware of any noises you have in your room, the sensations. Get in touch with all of your senses. What do you hear? What can you see with your eyes closed? Maybe you still see an outline of everything in your room. What do you smell? What do you feel? Do you feel air moving? Just go through all your senses and just notice the external environment. And then turn inward, noticing the environment inside. First, maybe you notice the sensations on your skin. You notice as the heater or the air conditioner kicked on, you notice that air is moving over your skin. And maybe you notice a little bit deeper in whether maybe you've been sitting a long time now and your left hip is a little uncomfortable. So just move it a little bit and straighten the spine. And when I say straighten the spine, I mean to just bring it into more neutral, because we tend to hunch over. So we just want to lift it up. Allow there to be space between each of the vertebrae so energy can flow freely. So become aware of the internal environment. With your eyes closed, maybe the external environment was able to be not blocked out, but a little bit. You've withdrawn inwards, where this is pratyahara. This is turning inward a little bit by just closing the eyes. But sometimes we can still see. Sometimes we have visions here. This is where our imagination comes in with the eyes closed. What do we see with our mind's eye? What are our sensations in our body? Do you feel any coldness inside, any warmth inside? Do you have a sense that you want to move? Do you have a sense that you want to fall asleep? Just become aware of those sensations inside of you. And then become aware of the breath. Here's where the internal meets the external. This is where they commingle. As you inhale, you're breathing in something from the outside, breathing it into the internal environment. And when you exhale, you are sending something from the internal environment to the external environment, and then it's just commingling. So just be aware. You can control or not control your breathing, inhaling and exhaling as it feels right to you, with awareness of just noticing now the parts of the breath. Notice when you inhale, and notice when you're not inhaling, but you haven't exhaled yet. And then notice when you exhale. And then notice when you're not exhaling, but you're not inhaling yet either. And this is the space between the breaths. And sometimes we put things there. We'll put activities there. But for now, we're just noticing. So for our first pranayama practice today, for our first pranayama practice today, we just had some awareness. We just turned inward. That was a little bit of pratyahara, and that makes pranayama practicing easier, but you don't have to pratyahara. You don't have to exclude the external environment to start practicing pranayama. So let us do something that we call, I'm trying to decide whether to use Sanskrit or not, but let's just take a big full breath. And so it's the 3-part breath. The Sanskrit is Dirgha Swasam breathing, and so you can't see, but place your hands on the lower part of your abdomen. And as you exhale, begin to tighten the belly. So pulling it in flat, exhaling. Again, through the nose. Your tongue is on the top palate. Then as you inhale, allow the belly to expand. And then bring your hands up to your ribs. So find your rib cage, okay? And put your fingertips so that they kind of overlap a little bit. As you exhale, maybe feel the ribs move. There's some intercostal muscles there in the ribs. Then as you inhale, the ribs expand. And as you exhale, the ribs come closer together and the fingertips come closer together and overlap again. Inhale. Exhale. And then place the hands over across the chest. And I'm going to move my hair from the top of my shoulders so that you can see that even though my upper body moves a little bit, my shoulders are not meant to move when I'm breathing. So you inhale, the lower belly expands a bit, the ribs expand a bit, and the chest lifts a bit, but the shoulders do not. And then as you exhale, the chest falls, the ribs come together, and the belly pulls in. And this is actively breathing. Inhaling, expanding the body, exhaling, and we begin to actively contract the body because we're pushing the air out. Inhaling, exhaling. So just put your hands in a comfortable space, comfortable place. I like to teach something called chin mudra. It's when you put your index finger next to the thumb, and this is really just symbolizes the ego. The ego is your first finger, the ego bowing to the higher self. So we want to put our egos aside and place our hands in our lap. index finger against the thumb. If that feels uncomfortable or weird, just turn your hands over and just relax. But do sit up tall. We're going to take some good, full, deep breaths in. Some people call it deep belly breathing. Some people call it the three-part breath. And in Sanskrit, it's known as the Dirgha Swasam breathing. And again, it's through the nose. So you have your proper tongue posture. And now we're going to have a little bit more focus on how much time we spend in the inhalation and the exhalation. So Swami Satchidananda taught us all to begin with the exhalation. If you find that you begin with the inhalation, it's not a big deal, but just know that this is the way that he taught, was with the exhalation first, and that is why I teach it that way. And he said it was because as Americans, we tend to hold our breath more than anybody else. And so if you get bad news, we go, and we hold our breath. You get good news and we go, and we hold our breath. So he wants us to stop holding our breath. And I think it's a good idea too, don't you? So there's even a book about it, Waiting to Exhale. So we begin to exhale. So exhale through the nose, and then inhale, exhale. Inhale, exhale. And so I've been inhaling and exhaling, having you go through like at about a count of 4. So inhaling 2, 3, 4, exhaling 2, 3, 4. And now so we're even. We're doing an inhale at the same amount of time as you exhale. And what you can do is you can take your unused iPhone, because you got the latest model and you have no use for this now except for to play music and to use the timer. So you can set your timer, you can watch your clock, right? You can just watch the timer here. You can press start, and then as it goes, you can just see what is natural for you. Maybe your rate of respiration needs to be slower. Maybe I'm making you breathe faster than you want to breathe. So this needs to be your personal practice, and you don't want to have too many breaths per minute because that can raise your blood pressure, it can raise your heart rate, it can do a lot of things. So we want it to be just easy. So exhale, 2, 3, 4, inhale, 2, 3, 4. So maybe you continue with that rhythm. And then now I want you to focus in on the sound that you're making. Maybe you can hear it coming in and out of your nose. Maybe you're sighing, maybe you're being loud. So imagine, Swami Karunananda, another one of my teachers, talked about imagining a silk string being pulled in the nostrils with your breath, and then as you exhale, that it's also going out. So you inhale quietly and you exhale quietly and fully. And then that adds to the peace. And so this, again, Dirgha Swasam breathing, the 3-part breath, deep belly breathing, sometimes it's called, is can help decrease the rate of respiration. It can help lower the heart rate. It can help you become more peaceful, but still have high energy because we're breathing deeply. And my guru says that we can get up to 7 times more energy in this way. One of the reasons is because we are breathing into the lower lobes of the lungs, and that only happens when we fully empty them. We usually just breathe shallowly because we don't have to breathe that deeply. So I hope this was informative for you, and I hope that you begin to practice this. Try to do it for 5 minutes. And if you like, send me an email. And if you like, I'll make another recording of just 5 minutes of this breathing without all the explanation of what is pranayama. But I didn't want to start this endeavor without at least going over what is pranayama and why are we doing it. So if you have any questions, please email me. It's idasnaturalhealth@gmail.com, and you already have that because you have this video. So if you have any questions, please ask me and I will answer. Talk to you all soon. Have a wonderful prana-filled day. Bye now.